Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Gray Beards. My name is Wayne, and to my left over here, aka Bug,
It's Bug. What's going
Bug.
on? Great bitters.
You're still not looking very grayish.
Oh, slide in a little bit.
Yeah, I changed my background.
I noticed. I
One of
like
my,
it. That's
it's
just
one of my favorite pictures. I don't know how do I get it so you can see what's in the
like
background.
some turkey in the background. It
Yeah,
is.
man. They always come out during deer season, but when it comes to hunting season, this was
Right?
a picture. Um, hmm, I forget how many years ago, probably 5 years ago, maybe
Yeah.
six. Uh, at one of my, deer stands out in the on the hunt club. There was always turkeys out there, man.
Okay.
I, I was going to turkey hunt this year, but they've changed some rules. In South Carolina, I'm still going to hunt, but
Hmm.
you can't shoot a Jake no more. Can't have just a little beard. It's got to be a 6 inches at least on the beard, and that's hard to do sometimes to judge you better learn what 6 inches, a 6 inch beard on a turkey looks like.
You used to do 6 inches, right? You remember that exercise called 6 inches where you lift your heels off the ground?
Oh, yeah.
Lay on your back
Heck yeah.
and
It's
do
just,
this.
I could do that all day long. I didn't have no problem doing that, but make me do a sit up, forget it, man.
Yeah.
I suck
Yeah.
at doing sit ups.
Most Americans do suck. I mean, we're well fed, baby.
Mm.
We like to eat. No
Now,
exercise, though.
before we start, we usually sit there and have a little 30-minute conversation about what we want to talk about. We're not scripted. We try to have some topics and maybe do some research, but we were sitting there talking about some stuff and, beforehand. And, food was always a topic, is always important for me in my life. I'm a fat guy. What can I say? Um, the food you grew up with is probably a little similar, but probably different than what I grew up with, you know.
I wonder. I
I don't know.
wonder how different. I want you to throw out a word. Oscar Mayer.
No. I know what
Bologna.
Oscar Mayer is. It's a company that makes a lot of
Yeah.
bologna is one of
And
them.
I ate a lot of bologna sandwiches
Oh
growing
yeah, we
up.
did too. Bologna was always a staple in the house.
Yeah.
But we
With a
didn't, it
bag
wasn't
of,
necessarily name brand. It was whatever, I don't know, they come out with generic stuff later on, but it wasn't,
mm, Spam.
spam. Yeah. I still eat a dish my mom used to make, which had spam, potatoes, eggs, scrambled eggs that were in it. It's like a
Mhm.
hash, I guess, for some. Uh,
Yeah.
she would make that because I mean,
Yeah.
our growing up, man, our main foods was, you know, potatoes, cabbages, pastas, a
Yeah.
lot of pastas. Big, she would can. I was telling you earlier, our neighbors came over and we did. It was kind of the wife off the cuff. I said, hey, I'm going to invite the neighbors over for dinner. So I'm fine with, whatever.
Okay.
And she was like, I was like, okay, when? Because I've been tinkering out in the garage and I did the, I did the rear rotors and drum rotors on my
Mhm.
Tahoe, and they come to find out one of my brake pads was excessively worn, but that's a whole other thing. So I finished that,
Mhm.
and I've been out there messing with that German Toyota I have.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I digress. Back to the food. So we were making food, and it's like my mom canned a lot, and a lot of tomato stuff and preserves and fruits and you name it. We always had
Right.
stuff
Right.
that she canned, and it was growing up. But I don't know if your mom canned or your grandma.
No, my grandmother did. My mom, she didn't. Can came from the grocery store. Okay, so that art was lost with the previous generation, and I noticed that. As I meet people, as I met people in the Air Force and
Hmm.
where we currently work and stuff like that, different backgrounds and stuff like that, canning, jarring, whatever. It seems like a regional thing. I'm sure they do it everywhere, but there's you
Yeah.
guys from the Northeast seem like y'all do a lot of that type of stuff from whatever you, Kay, Bob, and maybe there's a few others that can,
Hmm.
preserve food and stuff like that. But these other Southern boys, seem like I don't hear that as much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Why is that? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't
I,
know.
I would think they would have canned. I would think canning would be more prevalent down in the South than up north.
Yeah, it could have been, but like my grandparents, after them, my parents, they didn't. I don't know of any of my uncles and aunts that can. Maybe a few of the older ones
Hmm.
maybe kept that art tradition going on, but seem like folks that I hear talk about that are from your region. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Kyle. You have to pop the question on him. You know what I'm saying? Can't go an episode without mentioning that man, Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle, man. I tell you
He's
what,
okay.
he
He's probably in a deep
eh,
depressed state right now.
and sometimes, man, he's off the chain in some things, man. I tell you what,
Yeah, he gets off the chain.
you never know what's really going to trigger him. Sometimes, you know,
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I don't know if Kentucky. Hey, did the Wildcats win last? Were they playing last night or yesterday?
It was yesterday. My Wildcats let me down.
Did they?
They felt me.
I don't know what the score was. I tried to give him the old basketball Jones, but it was too late. It was
Yeah, yeah. I
sometimes.
usually don't watch college basketball until the March Madness. That's when it
Yeah,
piques my
same here.
interest.
I get more
Really.
interested in it because I think it's more fun to watch the try hard basketball wannabe fans. That
Yeah,
they know
yeah.
these people's bios, and I'm like, why are you? But they
Mhm.
can't change their own oil. Not to say that's the case with Kyle or anything, but
Kyle prefers not to change. So
yeah, he does. He prefers to change his own oil. He doesn't prefer
you think
because he don't
so?
want. He's cheap. He don't want to spend the money on what they want somewhere
He's
that.
cheap.
Well, you don't trust them, and I totally get that. If
Yeah,
I can do it, I'm doing it myself.
yeah. Got it. Tracking. But yeah, man. Yeah, foods growing up on after school snack for the Sharp household was bologna
All
sandwiches.
right.
Hot
Did you?
dogs was a delicacy, you know what I'm
All
saying?
right. Did you fry it up?
No, no, I didn't like fried bologna. I'm weird like that. My other siblings did. I was not one that preferred fried bologna. I didn't like it. It
Mm-hmm.
smelled bad. I prefer a cold slice of bologna with some Miracle Whip, and
Mm-hmm.
if I was lucky, a slice of cheese on that bad boy,
Yeah.
and
I don't know.
some Lay's
We could
potato
talk.
chips.
Let's talk a little bit about Miracle Whip, right? I
Yeah.
don't have any issues with Miracle Whip. I like Miracle Whip. My
Hmm.
thing is that everybody that ain't mayonnaise,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But there's people that say, well, that's just mayonnaise. I said, no, it's not. It's a salad dressing by the
Yeah.
manufacturer. That's what they call
Yeah.
it. It ain't
Hmm.
mayonnaise. Mayonnaise
Yeah.
is something
I
different,
grew up
right?
thinking it was mayonnaise. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? I thought it was mayonnaise until I tasted mayonnaise. And then I fell in love with mayonnaise, like Hellman.
yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is
I
good.
would be curious. Your roots in being in Georgia. If you had Dukes or not. Some people swear they were like Dukes is around here, anyways.
Yeah.
I think
Seems like
North
Hellman's was the
Carolina.
one. Yeah, that I like. There
I
were folks that had Dukes,
man,
but
for the longest time, I think Hellman's was the only mayonnaise out there. To be honest with
probably
you,
so, especially in our era, probably was
yeah,
the only one. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
so for me. obviously I like mayo on or Miracle. It didn't matter. With bologna, it didn't matter. I mean, typically the whatever you were putting on it overpowered what you was eating, anyways. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I was just again, I've probably mentioned this before, but there was nothing better than an old big old block of the old government cheese that we used to get because you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then that then the bologna and
Mm-hmm.
I like real butter. You butter the
Mm-hmm.
bread, real
Mm-hmm.
butter, a little bit with ketchup, the cheese and the mayo, on
Mm-hmm.
bread.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily be white bread, but it could be. We had more. I think we did more wheat bread than we did white bread.
No,
We,
man. I discovered wheat bread until I was an adult. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? That's weird, but we ate the sunbeam. I don't know if you ever
yeah,
seen
yeah.
sunbeam.
That was what we had too, was sunbeam bread. But
Little girl on the
mostly,
side
yeah,
of
we'd
the
go to the bread store
yeah.
to get it. I mean, my mom, we'd go and she would get probably, I mean, it was a lot of bread and we kept it in the freezer,
Hmm.
and she
Hmm.
bought it when, because you never know when the money was going to be dried up, whatever money
Yeah.
she had, whatever money, I wish she was here to tell um, more. I mean, I grew up through it, so I get it, but I didn't ever get the, um, why. You know what I mean? Why things were like they were, how she did what she did, why she did what she did. Um, I know a lot of it was driven by money.
Hmm.
Because canning wise, my mom canned because my dad was a seasonal worker. Typically, his job didn't go year round. It went
Right.
from, pretty much spring to sometime in the fall before the snow fly, because he
Hmm.
did a lot of um, road construction, driveways, paving, hauling dirt,
Hmm. Got
and
it.
where I grew up, there was so the canning would carry us through the winter for a lot of the basic food stuff, right?
Hmm.
Everything she would buy stuff in bulk.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, back in when you was growing up, the climate was a lot different than it is now. And maybe just those, I'm thinking, y'all crops didn't last as long as ours. You had to, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you had
Oh
that,
yeah,
like you saying, you're storing stuff for the winter. You know what I'm saying? Down south, you virtually grow stuff year round.
you can
Um,
you can up there too, but not in the quantities, right? Farmers,
yeah. So that might be
they're
a reason. Maybe the climate has something to do with it.
oh sure
You
it
know what I'm
does.
saying?
And we all have most everywhere you live up north had cellars,
Hmm.
so that it would keep stuff cool. You know,
Yeah.
cool. It was better suited for storing, canning
Yeah.
stuff.
What's prevalent down here in the South, one thing I did, like having smokehouses, you know what I'm saying? That was a big thing down here that my grandparents kept
I
like when
never.
they slaughtered whatever they slaughtered, they would keep it, it was salted down, put it in the smokehouse and it would preserve the meat.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know why it was maybe they're gonna chop it up and disseminate it out to the rest of the family. I don't know, but
yeah.
that's one of the things that they would do,
I
you
mean,
know.
we had a freezer and stuff like that. Mom always would buy meats in bulk, and when she could. Meat was expensive in comparison to other things,
Mhm.
So yeah, there was
Yeah.
definitely different times, right? And I get that. And then when I became an adult, we were living in this processed stuff. It started more in I think it was more prevalent in the 70s, maybe
Mhm.
late 60s. Processed foods, like Hamburger Helper came out. When Hamburger
Yeah.
Helper came out, my that was like, man, we were always eating Hamburger Helper. It wasn't
We
it
ate a
wasn't
lot
like,
too.
huh?
We had it. I know we had
Oh
at
yeah.
least weekly, at least
Yeah, but
weekly, mom.
when the product first come out, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when it first came out, it only had one or two things, of Hamburger Helper. It wasn't like 15. different varieties of hamburger
No, it
helper.
was just one, man.
Hmm.
One variety. It wasn't a variety, just hamburger helper.
Yeah, that
And
was it, man.
once my mom really started getting into the money situation, man, I noticed we ate more. I was thinking you
Hmm.
would eat less hamburger helper, but she didn't really have time to prepare the meals like she used to. And hamburger helper was like a quick, hasty meal.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I got tired of it. I'll just put it like that. You know what I'm saying? And so it's one of the things, man. Hamburger helper.
Yeah.
And the stovetop stuffing, that was another thing back in that era. It might still be a thing today. People probably
It
still
is
do
stovetops still. I mean, yeah, I remember stovetops. I mean, those were definite time savers for
it.
her.
Yeah,
Let's face it. I don't remember every time. Once in a while, my dad would get. Um, he would cook. Excuse me. He would cook steaks or something. Right. We would very rarely we would get. We wouldn't have individual steaks. It would be just one. What we knew to be a steak was just one big piece of meat that he would put in the broiler. You
yeah.
know, it was very rare for my dad. I remember we had. I don't know if you remember his barbecue grill was probably this tall, big round thing,
I remember them. Yeah.
and then it had a grate on the top that you could cook.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
think he cooked on that thing. I can only remember maybe once or twice when he first
Oh,
got them.
really?
Yeah, yeah. Charcoal was expensive, you know.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
know,
those. It was one of those things, right? When you're like, well, I spend money to have this charcoal, or I can just cook it in a pan and do the same thing, right? Burgers down the pan, where us kids
yeah.
didn't know any difference. We ate them either way.
Good point, man. I mean, we just did the grill on for the 4th of July. I can't recall any other time that Pops would pull out that grill.
Yeah,
But the 4th of July was just a tradition. You're gonna barbecue on the
yeah,
4th of July. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And that's the only time I can remember him cooking.
But and that's the same with us. With them, you take a holiday. We would get together with my great uncle, his uncle. They
Mhm.
usually had something around or on the 4th of July at his place. And my dad being an employee of his,
Mhm.
obviously he was an employee plus he was family. So
Right.
we'd all go over there and my mom would make, potato salad or something or um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was,
Yeah.
and we'd all go over there, man. It was great, man, because we were eating. We were,
Facts. Yeah. That community thing worked.
yeah. And
Everybody
then,
bringing their dish.
well, in that, and we would get we were like, we're gonna go get to hang out and play with everyone, all the other
Hmm.
kids, and that we at my uncle's place where because so he had his house, and then he had drove down back a hill, had the shop and all the trucks, and he always had, he had the money, if you will,
Right.
compared to
Right.
the rest of us. And he
Uh-huh.
always had cool toys and stuff to do, and we'd run around like idiots, being kids.
What kind of toys? Can you remember any of the toys y'all used to he had
Well, I
or
mean,
whatever?
he had the room, he had the outside area. We had, the darts, the lawn darts,
Oh boy. You remember I
lawn
told you some story?
darts and, croquet, the little hammers and ball. We were just hitting them like, not playing by the rules, you know.
I
It
see you
was just
guys were
fun.
no
It was
different
those
than
kind.
us.
He had all the, it was just fun, man. We had, usually it was either me and my cousin Rick, who's been on the show, and
Yeah.
of course my younger sister is a year younger than I am. We hung out mostly. We were closest to age. We would play with my older sister, but eventually
Mhm.
because she was 3 years older than me, and
Yeah.
so she ended up being the babysitter, if you will,
Yeah.
a lot of the time. So she was made to grow up faster. She was a responsible one, and
Mhm.
you know,
So how did you see her? I mean, being that she was the older one, did you see her as an
uh,
authoritative figure?
and
You know
not
what I'm
at
saying?
first,
So,
not at first, but when she started getting more and more. role as the babysitter, right?
Hmm.
Then, yeah, there was some animosity there. She was always, tattletaling and trying to be the boss of, us.
Yeah,
And she was just doing as she was directed to do,
yeah,
Um, so at that time, it was like, she's not, she's one of them, So,
yeah,
so
yeah. That was a hard road, man. And you had
it
the
is.
luxury of not being the oldest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Well,
I had to be the oldest. I had to supervise my siblings, man. That was a job
oh yeah,
that I did not want.
yeah. But she did. I love him to death. I do. We don't
Mhm.
communicate. We very rarely communicate. But on the subject of food, we'll go back to the food thing. One of the
Mhm.
things my mom used to get, and I hated it, but I still ate it because I got to eat. And I look at it was called puff wheat, right?
What was it?
Puffed wheat.
Oh,
Yeah. It looked like little sugar smacks. You know what sugar smacks were, right?
I've seen them.
Yeah, but it
They,
didn't have the sugary coating on it, right? It's just like to me, it was like eating. They were like very starved. My wife, she had that too. It was very cheap. It was. I want to say it was called puff wheat. Maybe it was puff rice. I don't know. Whatever it was. It was
yeah,
just these little puffy,
yeah.
cereal.
Uh-huh.
There was no sugar added to it. Very, you had to add your own sugar. We always, my mom, when my mom would go get sugar, it would be in them big bags because
Hey, all right. You throw the sugar on the thing, it just bounces off.
yeah.
But
So you
didn't
had
they
to,
have those little didn't they have those little slits in it? Like,
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
maybe some sugar
yeah,
would fall between the little slits. I think they
yeah,
kind of crisscrossed or something like that. If I
yeah,
remember.
maybe. But it was, you just doused it in sugar and then, milk when we always did for the most part have milk. I remember a stint my mom tried the um, powdered milk. Oh my God, that stuff is horrid. It's not even allowed in my house. Yeah,
No, I don't
yeah,
blame you. I
yeah.
never had it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
forget that. I'm not even. Yeah,
That's funny, man. That's crazy. You know
yeah,
how cereal, just feeding your kids sugar
Mhm.
with milk was like the breakfast of champions back then.
Yeah. I mean, we ate. We always had rice. My mom would always get big things of rice, so we always had
Mhm.
rice for her stuff. And um, any of the leftover rice, we ended up having a cereal. Right? It was in the fridge, and
Dang,
yeah,
what?
yeah,
Rice for cereal.
yeah. You just put the rice in a bowl with milk and sugar, and sometimes we'd have a little cinnamon we could put in there, and yeah,
Bruh.
yeah,
I didn't know. I didn't
yeah,
know, man. That's heavy metal to me. You know what I'm saying? Dang. Okay. All right.
yeah. Rice
I
for
confess.
cereal. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it, man. I will eat that. I think that. So like we have rice here, and I tell the wife, I said, don't put no shit in that. Leave it plain. I'll have it for breakfast.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I know. But now that you mention it, a lot of my friends from up north, they would sprinkle sugar. They would put sugar on their grits. They'll put sugar on rice. I'm like,
That's me.
oh, yeah, okay. Like it's a
Yeah,
regional thing. Nah,
yeah. I'll have grits, and I'll put butter with sugar. I like a good dab of butter in it, and
okay.
then um,
Hey, that's heavy metal. It
yeah,
was
yeah. It was
unthinkable.
called cream of wheat,
Yeah.
which to me was very grit like. It's not the same thing, but it's
It was
not.
similar, but it was different. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
similar texture, taste is very similar.
Mm, I can tell the difference. Mom, I don't know if she was low on cash or what, but she would bring that cream, or she would accidentally, I think most of the time it was accident, she'd have that cream of wheat.
Mhm.
Man, when she walked out of the room, guess who was scraping that stuff?
But yeah, definitely food was definitely different.
Yeah.
We got about 10 minutes, it looks like, and getting
Dang,
close to.
what the heck happened, man? We
We
ain't even
ain't even
talked
really
about
talked
this.
about some of the, and what basically, the food was definitely different back then. And we, as a child, I don't know how, I'm sure as we got more closer to our teenage, teen adults and in the 70s, more of this processed food started coming out, showing up, and it made life easier for working moms because a lot of people were having to, instead of mom being stay at home all the time, they were out, had to get jobs to make, because well, there was four of us, right? From
Mhm.
1970 on, my younger brother was born. So there was four of us at home until 80. For that 10 years, there was four kids to feed. And
Mhm.
this guy, this guy could eat, you
And a
know.
shovel for a spoon, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I went, in late 80, early 80s, I was, by the time I went to the military, I weighed 184 pounds. And it wasn't, I ain't gonna say there wasn't a lick of fat on me, but there wasn't much.
Dude, from the picture I saw, there was a lick of, you look like a broomstick, bro.
Yeah. Well, when that picture you saw, that was my basic training picture. I was probably around 180 or less. You know,
Yeah.
I think when I got out of basic, I went to basic. They weigh you in, right? I weighed
Yeah.
184 pounds, right?
Right.
By the time I left basic and went to, or across the street to tech school, I had lost 8 pounds.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
it's, you're like, how is that possible? Well, I was a lot more active, marching everywhere, and
Yeah.
you
Walking,
get
marching,
remember going
jogging.
down to the dining facility down below, and the dorms we were at, and you get, what was it, 10 minutes? I don't even think it was
Yeah.
10 minutes. It was like you sat down and you ate. You
Yeah.
got
Yeah. Yeah. You
got
probably
your
had
res-
10 minutes with all four of you guys, man. Yeah. I mean, no, you might remember how it was
yeah,
four guys to a table, four
yeah. You
people,
sat there until the table was full, standing
and
there
then you
looking
sat
at
down
you,
and
and
just
you had to
going.
stand there at attention with your tray. I think you could put your tray on the table. I
Yeah,
don't
you put
know.
your tray down, then you go
And
to
then you
attention.
stood at attention until the fourth person finally got to your table. You're like, you didn't, where can I sit? There was none of that. You found a table and you stood there. That
Hmm.
way everybody knew that there was room at the table, right? That's the whole purpose of that. So there was no, I mean, it's all you, it didn't matter who you sat with. You didn't give a shit. You were going to eat. And, and
Hey,
then,
you remember this word, portfolio. Does that ring a bell?
uh, I still have mine somewhere. I had it for the
Oh
longest
my
time.
goodness, dude. I wish I had all that stuff, man.
I had
You
it
know what
for the
I'm
long. I don't know where it's at
saying?
right now. It's in a box somewhere, but
Yeah.
it's got my it's
Portfolio.
got my last four initial and last four
Yeah.
sticker. Yeah, I still have
Yeah.
that.
S4038.
Mhm.
Where's
Yeah,
your portfolio?
yeah, yeah. Crazy, but yeah, definitely processed food started encroaching more in the 70s, and then obviously the 80s. Most
Mhm.
everything that people eat is a processed product, right? I do see a shift, even with my wife. She's, I hate to use this term. She's not woke, but she has been awakened to the poison that we've been feeding her. We fed our children. We ate it. Um,
Yeah.
you don't know what's in your food anymore. It's just a shame.
Yeah. I mean, that word that you're using, process, right?
Mhm.
Is it was it a necessity to process this food? They're not just doing it to be doing it. I mean, our population has exploded. Our need for fast food has exploded. It's like you were saying, when we start getting more, the kid, like in your house, your mom working, dad working. I don't have time, what I'm saying, to do all the things. Kill a chicken in the backyard, pluck it, chop it up, cook it.
Mhm.
We rely more on grocery stores, and they got to mass produce this food because of America, the way we've evolved as a country. You know
Oh
what I'm
yeah.
saying? They got to mass produce food. So we got to shoot it with steroids or whatever they're using to make this stuff grow. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's vegetables, animals, whatever. It's all, it's process. It's gonna be processed, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's
it
it's a
is. You're right, but there is still um,
culture
options out
food.
there that require.
Mhm.
It just requires more prep. It's easier. Me personally, I think it's more. You're absolutely right. You're talking 300 and what do we got? 330 million people that you got to feed. In the farming community, the number of true farmers that produce stuff has shrunk significantly.
Mhm.
I'm not really versed on to speak on the plight of the farmer because I'm not one.
Right.
Um,
Hmm.
but I mean, there's some. I mean, that's a whole episode you could do on farming, and
Yeah.
anybody
Yeah.
wants to chime in on what they think farming has evolved into is these huge corporate farms, right? Thousands of acres that they're making whatever they're growing. It's
Yeah.
just it
Yeah.
pales in comparison where you say now you have 10,000 farmers where 40 years ago or 30 years ago you may have had 50,000 farmers. I don't know the number.
Yeah. But
I
you got
know
a
the
lot more.
mhm.
You're right. I mean, so like you've told me that you and your wife had a garden, I believe, once upon
Mhm.
a time.
We still
And
do.
how long did it take to grow that little crop you guys had versus these guys? They got stuff that'll make that thing grow probably in a month. You know what I'm saying? Probably a
Oh
fraction of the
yeah,
time.
I mean, there is. I mean, I think the thing we miss as consumers when they don't know what goes into the whole process to get that to your table is just astounding. It's mind-boggling, really. From the seed, what it takes to get that to grow. The
Hmm.
amount of time and effort that farmers put in to get that to grow is until that product, say corn, gets to you
Hmm.
when you're sitting there munching on that cob of corn at, 4th of July picnic, whatever.
Hmm.
It's just it's crazy.
Hmm.
It's just mind boggling to, the Iowa corn that gets to your table here in South Carolina, even though there's corn grown here, obviously, but when
Yeah.
and a lot of stuff is seasonal, right? There's corn and cob is rare to find at certain times of the year.
Facts. Facts. So yeah, man. So yeah, I would say this here. The last, I know we run out of time, but
We got about 6 minutes, so
a Big Mac in the late 70s, early 80s was delicious.
and it was big.
And it was big.
It ain't
Hence
it ain't the
Big Mac.
small little thing they call the somewhat Big Mac. It's not the. I worked there
Yeah.
when I used to make them, so I know the differences between what
Yeah,
they
man. They
were.
taste different. The sauce, everything is different, man. The meat is different. That thing really did have like 100% beef. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? You could tell.
Oh
I
yeah,
was like, man, this thing is good. But when they swapped up, I was still ate it. But it wasn't as good as it was when we was growing up, you
yeah.
know?
You agree?
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. So, hey, you
But
got a brief word on President versus Zelensky? You got
well,
to
you tell me
throw
what
something
you
out?
think. What are your thoughts?
Well,
We got like
I'll
five
tell you what
minutes.
I
We can
think.
talk about some world events.
All right.
We'll
Well,
talk
briefly,
about Zelensky. Let's talk about Joy Reid going away.
uh,
And there was something else we talked about. And I can't remember what it was.
okay.
Cost of eggs, maybe. I
Zelensky.
don't know.
I don't know all the facts, don't know all the details, but as a world leader, I think the president probably shouldn't have handled him that way because he is a world leader. Um,
He
I don't
is the
know. Like
leader
I
of the
said, he
world.
could be a thug. I mean, he's been depicted as a thug. Maybe he should have been, treated like he was treated. I've heard some things, but I was like, man, Trump, uh, he dissed him. He disrespected homeboy. Um, but he did leave the door open. Hey, when you get your act together, you can come back and talk to me. All right. But that's typical Trump fashion. I'm against the Russian aggression. I don't want to see Russia win in no fashion. You know what I'm saying? And finally, I'll say this quick. I believe in Europe, the Europeans investing in their own security a lot more, but I think we should keep um, overarching support of that region. I don't want us to lose control of that. You know,
Mhm.
that's just me. I was raised that way through the military. Russia's bad, so it's going to take a lot to change my mind on anything, any games about Russia. You know what I'm saying? So that's me.
Yeah,
What you
I
got?
would
What you got
well, I'll say it real
on?
quick, right? Two things, right? First
Mhm,
off, if that meeting was going south, it should have been handled differently, in my opinion, right?
mhm,
Um, whatever caused the thing to turn around and not come out like was predicted, is
mhm,
unfortunate. Um, I agree with you.
mhm,
Obviously, Russia is not the same Russia that you and I stood the post for many years. That was the Soviet Union, wholly different,
mhm.
right?
Right.
It's not much different than what it was. I mean, there's some things that went in Russian history with the parliament and, you
Mhm.
know, what was his, well, it wasn't Gorbachev, it was Brezhnev.
Gorbachev.
Brezhnev. Brezhnev was after Gorbachev, I believe. I'm not a real Russian historian, but how they did away with the parliament and blah blah blah. It's kind of weird.
Mhm.
Um, I want to side with the president and his belief that the killing needs to stop.
True.
If that
Check.
means,
Noted.
you know,
Mhm.
Ukraine giving up some land over this, yeah,
Mhm.
you may have to, right? You're not getting Crimea back. You're not going to that
It's never
region
coming
that
back.
that that region of Ukraine that was now Russian is because all of them were Russian sympathizers and they all wanted to be part of Russia for whatever reason. I don't know.
Mhm. Mhm.
But that's about all I got to say about that. And about got less than 2 minutes. Joy
Going on
Reid.
with Joe? Yeah. What's up with her?
Well, they're making it
Maybe.
a racist thing, in my opinion.
Mhm.
She said a lot of inflammatory. To me, she's the epitome of a racist, personally. For whatever
Why would the
reason,
racist network get rid of their
yeah.
star child? You know what
Well,
I'm
they had to
saying?
do something. Her ratings were down. Part of being a TV host of whatever
Mhm.
news or whatever. If your
Mhm.
ratings aren't there, you're going away. We all
It's
know it.
about
Your
the money.
show's going to get canceled, and you eventually get fired. And I
Mhm.
understand that a lot of people in her community that feel that she's talking to them and what they're experiencing. Got it. But bottom line, you got to have the ratings. But what do you think? Real quick. Got less
Yeah,
than a
real
minute.
quick on Joy, don't know much about her, just to be frank. Yeah, what I do know, that network, it's just a lot of talk, man. That's just
Mm-hmm.
they talk, they get into your emotions, and that's how they keep their audience. And the audience got tired. They start, what about our wallets?
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. We need to feed our kids. We can't keep playing this violin. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So on that note, that bombshell. Thanks for watching. And
Appreciate you guys, man. Hey, let's do the next show on let's do all the comments, man. Let's respond to some
yeah,
comments
give me
and
some
stuff.
comments and hit the likes. Take care, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yes, sir. Y'all be good.